Hello, my name is Cam. I am currently the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelas, and I was the coach of the Minneapolis Meteors. So I have a storied history with this draft league, even though it is not even season 2 yet. But I've been doing a lot of building and a lot of testing. This is why this cannot go out until I have already, until we've started the season, because I will be spilling to you some of my biggest secrets on Pokemon here. So, where do you want me to start? From the beginning, PB?
With the first team you made, I want to see how your thought process has evolved over the course of this.
So I didn't think I was gonna make this many teams for the record. I was telling PB earlier, I have like 17 teams overall, although we've changed the point value. So some of them are repeats, which brings it up to like 24 or 25. But ignoring those, yeah, I still have like 17 teams built. It started with me going, is Magearna a viable Pokemon? Fun fact, yes. This is something Pink and I were discussing. Magearna, we knew it was going to be really good, but it's like even better than I realized. So the idea of the Magearna team was what's called hyper offense. For those of you that don't play Showdown very often, hyper offense is effectively just doing as much damage as physically possible. You don't have to care about resistances or weird stally strategies because you can just break through them. So that was the plan here because of Magearna's ability, Soul Heart. Soul Heart is one of the most broken abilities they've ever made because it is this Pokemon's Spec A is raised by one stage when another Pokemon faints. So it's not like Beast Boost or Chilling Neigh or whatever where you need to get the kill or like Moxie. All of those are you get the kill and then get a boost. Magearna's works if either of the other Pokemon die to anything, whether that's Memento, Explosion, Poison, Sandstorm, or if your ally dies. And that's where this comes in. That's why I built this team, was because if your ally goes down next to Magearna, Magearna gets a Spec A boost. That makes this the most consistent boost sweeper in the format that I've experienced. And I was the Mudsdale player season 1, and that just didn't feel as good as Magearna does, honestly. I haven't figured out how to support Magearna properly yet. I'm still working on that. But this first team, this is again the first one I built, was supposed to use Pokemon like this Pheromosa. This Pheromosa has insanely good stats and Life Orb to just do more damage, uh, but very low defenses. So, big surprise, it gets blown up very easily. But if it gets blown up next to Magearna, Magearna gets a boost. And in the time that it is on the field, it's just killing things. So this team is supposed to start fast and slow. You start with sending out all your most burnable Pokemon, get Magearna boosted, and then just let Magearna sit on the field and kill. Poltegeist is really good for that. Poltegeist has a crazy spec A. I didn't know how good this thing's special attack was. 134 is really good with choice specs. That's effectively like 210. I don't know if I math exactly right there, but you get the point. It's really good. Um, so yeah, giving that weak armor, which is an ability it gets. Usually weak armor is terrible. I pointed this out in my season 1 interview with Chris's Ceruledge. Weak armor is an ability that if you get hit by a physical attack, you have your defense go down, but your speed go up. Again, this is a very slow format. Metronome battles aren't supposed to go that quick, but with Poltegeist, it is now faster, less bulky, meaning it's more likely to die next to Magearna faster, and still doing insane damage with the great Spec A and Choice Specs. So these three kind of form the nice hyper offense into slower Magearna core. And then I was like, okay, what are just some other cheap Pokemon I can take to round it out? So Surfetch just has good attack stat. Colossal was supposed to be Rocky Helmet Flame Body. This is kind of supposed to come in when it's right at the end of the game. It's then Magearna and Colossal sit on the field. I'll get back to Colossal because fun fact, I think it's a pretty shit Flame Body user in the end, which is too bad because I wanted it to be better. And then there's Crabominable. Crabominable has 132 attack, so very similar to the Poltegeist Spec a choice band, and anger point. Anger point, again, for those of you unaware, is that if you get crit, so if they hit a critical hit into you, you max out your attack stat immediately. This Crabominable might get blown up, or if it doesn't get blown up, it might do effectively infinite physical damage. So I think he's funny. I don't think Crabominable's a bad pick. He's only like 2 or 3 points. So yeah, something to keep in mind. This team, I've done a fair bit of testing with this team because I really like the hyper offense with Magearna concept. The problem that I ran into is that Magearna still is just viable to blowing itself up or getting like fissured or burned by something and having its output or just not pulling enough special moves. For those of you who watched season one, you may remember the phenomenal time that Wubbs' Empoleon could not pull a special move when fighting Pink's Corsola, um, and thus hit it with a physical move and got perish bodied. PB, I'm sure you remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember that one.
That was the match that made me go, ooh, interesting. And that's, yeah, a very similar problem with Magearna. Having one Pokemon as your centerpiece on a 30-point core, which is what I was building this for, is really rough because if that Pokemon dies, you're just gone. That said, this team had promise. I really, really like Magearna as a core. So I've continued to stare at it and work around it. Did some more testing around that. I made a slightly better, sorry, I'll get back to the Magearna one in a bit. But yeah, I made a different hyper offense team based around Chen Pao because Chen Pao has sort of ruin, which just lowers the defense of everything around it. So put that next to some good physical attackers, and things just die. Fun fact about Azelf, PB, I want you to guess this. What do you think Azelf's stat spread roughly is? What do you think is its highest stat
Highest stat defense?
on Azelf?
I don't know. I was just guessing.
No, understandable, understandable. Azelf is a mixed attacker.
Oh, really?
My interpretation was that Azelf was a special attacker all the way, but I've been wrong all my life, and I was a Gen 4, like that was my first game. So I thought I knew this, but no, I knew Elf was offensive, but look at this. 125 in both stats is crazy. So yeah, lots of love to his elf. This thing's great on hyper offense. It just does so much damage. Like pure psychic's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Levitate's just a little more immunity, which is also not the end of the world. It's like a 2 or 3 point mon, and honestly, for that, it does a lot of damage. I am staring down a Zelf. Pretty much no matter what I end up getting as a core, a Zelf could work just because of the damage it does. Was just throwing some other Pokemon on. I love the Life Orb Veramosa. I think this thing's funny as hell because it's just like slightly better as Elf.
How many
It's
points
slightly
is it?
more frail. 3.
Oh, really?
Because it's so frail. It only works on hyper offense. But yeah, because look at this: 37
I
defense,
know, it's
37
so
spectre.
bad.
A light breeze would kill it if it pulls like status moves. But no, if you can get this thing to come online, Pheromosa can win games. The other problem, and this is the part that makes it unfortunate, is that Beast Boost is an insanely good ability, but it's this Pokemon's highest stat. Because we don't allow EVs, its highest stat is always going to be speed. And speed barely matters in this metagame. So yeah, rest in peace, Pheromosa. That's why it's not better. Mega Heracross is a funny one here. Let me quickly just show you my. I'll just tell you, Mega Heracross is like 180 attack stat. It's really high. So this is a yeah, it's initially a Moximon if I can get something low and get kills first. And then when it megas, it has Skill Link, which is not the most important, but just has a huge attack stat. And again, the whole point of this team is Sword of Ruin. But this told me something very interesting. Hyper offense doesn't work on its own. I tested this team into a couple cores, and with the exception of the cores that just didn't work into anything else, this team blows itself up. So I need to figure out how to balance this if I ever want to do it. I don't think Chen Pao's the answer. It's funny, but I don't think it's the answer. Obviously, like Blaziken's not really good. Salazzle's not great. Azelf's good though. I have a lot of love for Azelf and a lot of love for Pheromosa. So then I started experimenting with some other fun stuff I could do. I'll get back to Calyrex because Calyrex is one that I've recently had an innovation for. But yeah, I wanted to build like, oh, what if we ran Regigigas and Slacking alongside a neutralizing Gasmon? And the answer is it just doesn't work that well. Both of them want your leftovers. So running one of them is not the worst. I mean, like leftovers Gigas works. I think it's probably better run not like I could have built this team better without Slacking and put like Coffer Gigas next to it, just spread Mummy to everything, get Gigas to pick up Mummy, and then it's just better. So there's stuff you can do there. I don't hate that. The team didn't end up. This team comp didn't work. This was one I threw together just to see if it had any point. The answer was eh. And then I built this. This team was supposed to be. I literally named it the generic season 2 team, which is effectively I looked at what was good in season one and did it again. Um, I saw that Nidoqueen was really good on the or on the Meteors, so I put Nidoqueen on this team. I was looking through Flame Body Mons, and I'll be staring down Scorch throughout this entire interview. Scorch is a way better Pokemon than I expected. It's Flame Body for the record, so if something hits it, it might burn, which just slows them down so much. Does the chip damage, which cancels out lefties, and weakens their attack stat, which makes your whole team bulkier. A lot of love for Flame Body as a whole. And Scorch has just a really good attack stat and pretty good HP. So this thing, unless it gets hit by a rock move, lives for a surprisingly long time and does a lot of damage. Houndstone's just insane. Fluffy with leftovers with this stat spread is so good. So yeah, shoutouts to Houndstone. I'm tempted to draft him as my bulk if I don't get a certain couple other Pokemon. Kaparaja taught me something. Kaparaja was supposed to be a steel type with sheer force, which are both just inherently really good, and it has great stats. But it taught me something about sheer force. PB, do you understand how sheer force works as a basic concept?
Yeah, I do.
Did you know that if Metronome pulls a move without a secondary effect, or if it pulls a move with a secondary effect, Life Orb recoil is also canceled, but the damage still goes through.
Really?
Yeah, Sheer Force Life Orb is actually something used in real competitive. Because yeah, you don't take the recoil damage. But I was under the impression that it works for Life Orb all the time. I found out that no, it's if you use a move that has a secondary effect, then it cancels out that secondary effect and the Life Orb recoil. But if you use a move without a special effect, you take the Life Orb recoil. So Life Orb Sheer Force is way worse in this meta than I thought it was, which is just fascinating to me. So yeah, that's something that I've stared down. Kaparaja is fine. I mean, he's still good. Steals are a really good type, and he has great stats. But I don't think Sheer Force Life Orb's to play. Just I don't know, interesting to me. Galaritan is so good. I don't remember if I explained this in this interview, but like Galaritan, dude. 140 attack stat, 1.5 times attack, 1.5 times attack. For some quick maths, that's 210, 305. That is an effective 305 attack stat. That's insane. So yeah, just actually I don't think that matters. I think it's 315. Point is, it's still insane. Galaritan is a crazy Pokemon that does so much damage. And then I just wanted an Intimidate switcher, so I just grabbed Krokorok. Krokorok's good. He's funny. Not the worst stats for a Pokemon that's just going to be entering the field and then intimidating and then leaving. So yeah, if you need a cheap Intimidate mon, I like Krokorok. And this team, against all of my like gimmickier cores, still performed. So I'm kind of curious if I can't get a core online, I could just do something like this. These three mons are so good as a bulky core. So yeah, you mix that with some nice offense, which is what these are supposed to do, and an intimidate switcher, and it just works. This is a good team comp. I really like my generic team, and again, this is a 30-point team. This isn't even up to scratch nowadays. I could switch this Krokorok for a much better intimidate setter. I could like switch Nidoqueen for maybe a better poison pointer. There's really not many better ones, but you get the idea. So that's insane how good that was. And then I went, okay, I need to try out Sun teams. So I built a Great Tusk one with Torkoal, and learned that Harvest is so broken. I'll get back to Chirim. But Harvest, we knew it was good. I didn't realize until I tested it how good it was. This Executor has trouble dying. Like in my testing, it struggles more often than not, I think. So yeah, I think there's a couple good Harvest mons. Let me just, I should be doing this. If you just look at the Harvest mons, you have like Arvaliva isn't great for it, just doesn't have the bulk. Normal Executor is just a terrible typing, but Alolan Executor has a pretty good mixed offensive with a good defensive spread on a pretty good defensive type. I mean, double weakness to ice is not good, but it's not the end of the world. So I think Alolan Executor with Harvest is so good. Tropius just doesn't have the stats. Trevenant's good. I think people have been overhyping Trevenant. in my very limited testing of it, I mean, it has very similar bulk to a Alolan Exeggutor, but just worse overall offenses and just a worse BST. But it's paired with the Ghost type. The Ghost type's really good in this format. So, no, Trevenant has some pull. If you're going to run a Sun team, I would probably still recommend running Alolan Exeggutor instead, but there's a purpose to it. And then there's Chirim. PB, do you know what Chirim does?
I don't actually.
I didn't think you would. It's not a Pokemon that comes up super often. Flower Gift is a Chirim specific ability that changes its form, and it is if Sunny Day is active, which again it's a Sun team, it's gonna be. It and its allies attack and Specty are times 1.5.
Or the
That
ally?
is so good when you can put it like next to, for example, a Great Tusk. Because then all of a sudden, you remember how I talked about the Galarian Darmanitan choice band with another attack boost?
Yeah.
This one, now, Great Tusk has Photosynthesis for an attack boost, because fun fact, Photosynthesis chooses from top to bottom, so it's attack. A choice band for more attack, and Flower Gift for more attack. That means this Great Tusk has an effective attack stat once it goes into battle that is insanely high. Based off of like this stat, it ends up at like 1,000 instead of the 300 it's supposed to start at. So yeah, lot of love to this team. This team, there's still some work to be done. Serena, I wanted to be better. Leaf Guard is it can't get status if Sunny Day's active, and I was like, oh, that's funny. So I gave it leftovers to just be vaguely unkillable, and it just didn't feel great. Um, Torkoal's a good sunsetter. It has good bulk. 140 defense, 70 Specty, 70 HP, pretty good. This should just be pivoting in and out. There's no reason to give it anything but Heat Rock. Venusaur was just a poison type that could use the sun at all. So this team needs some work, but the concept's there, and Great Tusk felt so good. Great Tusk Chirim can just get through a team. It's weak to a couple specific things. It's bad against Intimidate switchers, but like I love Intimidate switching now, so I built a bunch of teams with it. So it hasn't been performing as well, but I really like this team. If I end up building a Sun team, although I think a bunch of other people are going to try to as well, I want Torkoal, Great Tusk, Chirim. Those are the three. Oh, and Exeggutor Alola. Those are the four. This core is really good. I tried to build Sun teams with other Sunsetters. Tried Koraidon next to Chirim. The problem is once the Koraidon dies, you just spent so many points that it's barely worth it. Ooh, ooh. Let me pull something up for you. So I spelled it wrong. You didn't see that. So PV, uh, did I ever walk you through our regenerator pricing? Because Corsola is 0.
No, you
Corsola should
didn't.
not be 0.
Why is Corsola
Most of
0?
our we did because we didn't notice it. This is supposed to be our weakest real regenerator user is Cloth or Eldegoss, both of which are at 8 points. Those are again supposed to be what our regenerators look like. Our good regenerators, if you're going to like Slow King, for example, the Galarian's 13, the normal's 12. Toxapex is 16 because water poison with great defensive stats. Um, my personal favorite one, which that'll find it. It's 10 points. I love Alomomola. We'll get back to that. But yeah, then there's 0 point Corsola. This thing has Regenerator, has genuinely pretty okay defenses, and can hold Rocky Helmet. So it can just pivot
Wow.
in and out, dealing a bunch of residual damage for literally 0 points. This is maybe my biggest secret.
I have not heard this one
Um,
yet.
good, good. I want no one to know about this, so I don't have to pick it right away.
I'll find out too when I do the
Um,
rest of the interviews. You're the first one.
yeah,
Real
I'm
interview.
fascinated. Yeah, I'm fascinated about that. And yeah, I also built a Primal Groudon team because it's funny. This is still also in the 30-point days, so I had to, this is 20, this is like 5, and so I had to throw a bunch of shitters on, which I thought it was really funny to use Dolive.
Could have
It
been
is a
Smoliv.
Harvestmon. Smalliv's just too bad.
It beat Mega
But yeah, but
Rayquaza.
then what? Sorry.
Said it beat Mega
He did beat
Rayquaza.
Mega Rayquaza, that's true. I just watched his match against the level 200 one. That was funny. Anyway, uh the Moody Mons though. This, I mentioned this in the season one. I was trying not to let myself rant about it too much because this is quite possibly the best team I've built. Pardon my French, holy shit. This team is so good. The Kinkelders a nothing point that I just needed an attacker. But Octillery with Moody and leftovers. And that's the leftovers is the big part. None of the Moody Mons in season one had leftovers,
Really?
which huge mistake. Yeah. Because Davin had his leftovers on Corv, which
That
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
had my leftovers on Mudsdale. The fucking what's the name of it? Scovillain? The Scovillain never showed up. That thing just didn't go to matches.
Who had that?
So I was what?
Who had the school villain?
Great question. I don't remember. But whoever had it just didn't bring it to matches. Um, and I was like, that's such a throw. Uh, but Octillery is a good Pokemon on its own merit. It's a water type with good mixed offensive stats and decent bulk. That's fine in this meta. That is a totally fine Pokemon in this meta. So giving that Moody and leftovers just makes it so hard to kill. And the point of this team was to have good side pieces for it that just worked. Um, I really debated a friend guard mon on this team, but ended up settling without one for this build. And this build works really well. This is kind of, again, still a 30-point team. This is still not technically up to scratch nowadays, but it's quite possibly the one I like the most. So I'll be honest with you. I might round one draft Octillery. My
Really?
idea here is because, oh yeah, I think it's that good. If I don't go Magerna, I go Octillery, pretty much. Those are my two main cores right now. Spoilers for me going through the rest of the team, but I think it's one of those two. Yeah, it's really, really, really good. I was astounded by how well this is doing in testing. Granted, that could just mean it's good into the other teams that I build, and it's hard to know because I don't want to challenge people and show them how good it is. But regardless, I've been loving it so much. Stoutland's just a good Intimidate mod. It costs 3, has good stats. I really like Stoutland here. Alomomola, I said, was my preferred Regenerator mod. I meant that. 165 HP, just insane.
Wow.
It's so good. So, yeah, love Alomomola. That's probably my round 2 pick if I go for Octillery round 1. Quillfish is a way better Black Sludge Poison Point user than I think people realized. Like, this is, besides the Specty, this is a pretty decent mon. And with Black Sludge Poison Point, it just sits on the field and applies poison. There's just not much you can do about it. For its point value, it's probably like the second best Poison Point mon I've tested. Granted, I haven't tested some of the higher point ones. Like I haven't tried Overquill yet. I have high faith in Overquill, but I like Quillfish a lot. Scorch we already talked about. I love this guy. And then yeah, Conkeldurr was just I needed a powerful mon. People in season one, specifically the Ursaluna player, um, ran Guts with Flame Orb, and we got to see firsthand why I don't think that's a good idea. Because at one point it pulled in prison and then died to its own burn, and then I think they lost the match off that. And I was like, that's why you don't run Flame Orb. I like Guts personally as a if you get status, you can run Conkeldurr into their poison point mod. And if it happens to get poisoned, you're stronger. And if it doesn't, then you're not getting chipped down. So I think Guts is a fine choice, but I don't think you run Burn or Flame Orb. I think it's a bad choice. I have opinions on that. But yeah, this team, as I said, so fucking so good. I can start speeding up. Those are my biggest teams were Moody and Magerna. Um, I tried out this one's interesting. So again, this was still a 30 point, so I ended up rebuilding it later. Where was it? Yeah, Moody Migo 35 is the Octillery with Flamigo. I was the Flamigo player in season one. This is the one at the end of my season one interview PV that I was referencing. I might get back. I might take
Really?
Flamigo again. Because I mean, think about it. Next to a Moody Mon,
Yeah.
you set up infinite stat boosts, and then you switch in Flamigo. Now you have infinite stat boosts on 2 Pokemon. It's so good. I think it's an underappreciated way to handle it. Because again, no one handled Moody right. So I love it. I really like Octillery here. Octillery next to Flamigo in practice has been working. It's not been phenomenal, but it's been working. Um, and yeah, then other than that, Flamigo's a 10-point mon, so that ain't cheap. Octillery's a 9, so this is 19 of your 35 right there. Alomamola's another 10, so that's like 29. So you have like really no points to work with. which is why I did Quillfish, Centiskorch, Croc. This is a nice side defensive core. Anything you pivot from a Lomomola into, you can Intimidate to chip them down, or Flame Body or Poison Point to try to deal with high attack or stallers, respectively. There's good stuff here. And I've really liked how this has felt as a whole. And the only Pokemon I dropped from the original team was that Conkeldurr, which, whatever, I have Flamigo to do the damage now, so I don't mind that. Let's see. Here's my Magearna 35 team. I ended up picking up Blacephalon, um, because as I said, the Colossal didn't feel good. Blacephalon's just good. I mean, 151 Spec A, 127 attack. That means every time it gets a kill, it gets a Spec A boost, so I threw specs on it. So that means it's from 151 to what, 225-ish? And so then if it gets boosted, it's another boost, which is like, oh my gosh, that's 1.5. So it's like 330, roughly, 340-ish Spec A effective as the base stat, which is really good. So yeah, this is still good. I like Magearna a lot. It feels great. Tried building some other ones. Tried building a hail team. I didn't like it. Tried building a rain team. I didn't like it. Um, this was just what if I didn't take the Flamigo? I ended up throwing Annihilate on, but again, it just the whole point of the Annihilate, but I don't hate this, is probably the best way to get through Octillery is to intimidate it down. You can just make them only be able to do special damage. So the idea behind Annihilate is if they're trying to intimidate me down, I Defiant back up. But in hindsight, that should be a competitive mon. Probably, I don't think I'll be able to get Empoleon, but like, I don't know, Milotic, um, Galarian Articuno, who knows? There's options. But yeah, still, the Moody teams feel really good, which is why I have a million of them. And so then I started testing this. What if I had two Moody Mons? But you might remember from my earlier discussion about the slacking Regigigas that I said I wanted leftovers on both of them. Yeah, big surprise, this is the same thing. Both the Scoville and the Octillery really feel not as good without the chip damage. So I was just like, no, I don't think Moody's the play. It's funny. I think this team's really funny to try because if you get the right boosts and you have them next to each other, there's nothing they can do. But still. I tried a trapping team. This was supposed to be a more offensive trapping team. Uh, Effectively based on Wheeze, Wobbuffet, Ferrothorn. It was what if I had Gothitelle, Garchomp instead. Gothitelle just still doesn't feel great. Leftovers certainly helps it, but like I don't know, its bulk as high as it is, because it is higher than it feels. It never feels that good. Gothitelle dies. Garchomp feels great. Garchomp always feels great. Weird Ear is like a 2-point intimidator, but it just doesn't really do anything. Oh, I hadn't gotten to talk about Golisopod. Sorry, I know I've been ranting for like another 40 minutes, and I said this would be shorter, but too bad. Um, Golisopod, my boy, is supposed to be your Intimidate repivot, which I think is a fascinating role. So effectively, what I mean by that is you bring in Weird Ear, um, you have the Weird Ear leave the field, and Golisopod takes its place. Golisopod has the eject button, so that if it gets hit, it immediately switches back into Weird Ear and gets another Intimidate on the field. With emergency exit, that can happen again when Golisopod reaches half health, meaning that you have a second time that you can switch into Golisopod and then go right back to Weird Ear or whatever your Intimidate mon is. And then a final time when it dies, you can switch in your Intimidator again. So just off the back of Golisopod, you can get 4 Intimidates down. I love Golisopod. I think it's really funny. I don't know if I'll draft it because I mean it's fine as other than that, but the problem is it's slow. So with the eject button and emergency exit, it gets hit and then leaves the field and just wastes the turn bringing in the intimidate, which is still good. But like, I don't know, it could be better. This is a good idea for a team. I just don't like Gothitelle Garchomp as much as I wanted to. Um, I built a Toxic Chain team just to see if it worked. I don't like how it feels. I'm certainly not drafting a Toxic Chain mon. I don't want to be that guy. Which leads me to my last thing I wanted to talk about today. The last thing was that I had said, as we were looking at points to Wubs and Pink, that I might be the Calyrex Ice player. So I was staring down Calyrex Ice and going, I don't know how to make this work properly. What I'd want to do, because for those of you who don't know, Calyrex Ice has as one, which is Unnerve and Chilling Neigh combined. Chilling Neigh is a move that if you get a kill, you get an attack boost. It's just Moxie. literally. Same move, same ability. But the idea behind that then is I would like to chip down the opponent, bring in Calyrex, and then kill them with its insane stat distribution. PB, if you haven't looked at this yet, look at these numbers.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Those are pretty good.
this thing's insane. Psychic Ice is a terrible typing for the record, but this is insane. So the more I stared at it, the more I initially was like, I need to build around this. But it never felt right. Again, this is a 30-point team, but like, oh, Dragalge is a great Pokemon. I brought it up, I think, in my season 1 draft of Poison Point Mons. It may have been this one, I don't know. Point is, Dragalge is only a 5-point Mon here, and for Poison Dragon with Poison Point Black Sludge, that's so good. Um, it was an MVP last season. I don't remember whose, but it was an MVP. Gabite's like a 1 point that I could throw Rough Skin Rocky Helmet on. This Centiskorch shouldn't have red card. I was just doing it because I couldn't think of anything better. But there's some ideas here. Again, I didn't like how Colossal felt no matter how I ran it. It has good bulk. It should, but it has 2 double weaknesses to water and ground, both of which have like they get pulled often enough. So no, not a Colossal supporter. Centiskorch always feels good. Krokorok was just to have an Intimidator. But finally, the other day, as I was talking, Papple reached out. And I'm the one that wrote the season 2 rules like onto the sheet. And Papple goes, "Hey Cam, you said that all items are legal." And I was like, "Oh no, he's gonna find something." And I happened to look, or happened to think back and go, "Wait a minute. Gen 2 had items that they then removed immediately after because they had different berries that ended up getting replaced. And then it also had a very funny little thing called the Berserk gene. It says it's illegal. That's because it's illegal in pure Hackmons, but we don't play in pure Hackmons, for the record. We play in doubles custom game where this is legal. And technically, I said all items are legal. What Berserk gene does is it confuses you when you switch in, but it also gives you 2 times attack stat. Um, that's a little busted, for the record. That's very, very strong on a Pokemon that already has 165 attack stat. You are now bringing that to a solid 330. But, and note this, your leftovers should always be on your centerpiece. I don't care what it is. If you have a centerpiece, if your team isn't just equal value Mons, your leftovers should be on your centerpiece. Um, Calyrex is my centerpiece. So why wouldn't I run leftovers on it? Well, Berserk Gene's good. You see what the problem is, right, PB?
Yeah, I see it.
Now, I ask you a second question. How could you get leftovers onto Calyrex as it's already on the field? You have any ideas?
I don't know.
So there's a couple ways you could hypothetically. The obvious ones to most people are like trick and I guess there's like thief you could get. Yeah, all those. Switcheroo is the other one I was trying to think of. There are moves that switch items like that. The problem is Metronome can't call almost any of them. For some reason, it can pull Fling, but it can't pull like Thief, or I don't know if it can pull Thief, but it can't pull like Switcheroo or Trick, which is why you don't see random Pokemon switching their items as much mid-battle. I think that's stupid. I think it'd be funny if Metronome could switch items. But the important part is there's something that people forget, which is a little ability called Symbiosis. Symbiosis is an ability that if an ally uses its item, this Pokemon gives its item to that ally, which in this case means I can give leftovers to Calyrex Ice when it uses its Berserk gene.
Oh,
So now
okay.
Calyrex Ice is confused, yes, but has times to attack and leftovers, which is insane. And then as I was playing it, I realized because the Florges has leftovers and has great special bulk, look at this thing, 154 Specty. The Florges can sit on the field, heal up with leftovers, stick around, do damage, and then when it's running low, when it's already nearing the end of its life, I switch in Calyrex Ice, boost up with Berserk Gene, give over the leftovers, let Florges die, bring in Friend Guard Jigglypuff, and now have bulky times to attack leftovers Calyrex Ice. This is my second secret, is this team existing,
Wow.
because, oh my gosh,
I
this team
like
should not
this.
exist. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go for it. In testing, Calyrex Ice is still very willing to blow itself up. I don't love that. I had 2 games in a row where it missed the explosion, and I was like, "Really? Really, buddy?" But yeah, other than that, I think this is an insane strategy, and I think it's one that's very easy to pull off because the only Pokemon that this needs are Calyrex Ice and a Symbiosis Mon. There's only 2 Symbiosis Mons, but I don't think people are going to be drafting Florges or Oranguru, which people don't even remember exists sometimes, anytime soon. So I think if I'm going for this team, it's an easy round one Calyrex. The way we set up the rules is that only one person can have Calyrex in general. So it's not even like someone can draft Shadow Rider and then I can draft Ice Rider. It's just if I draft Calyrex, I have all of them, but I only get to choose one. So this is my third backup strategy. And this is the one that I really need to put more time into. I designed this team yesterday and I've only gotten to play 2 matches with it, both of which Calyrex blew itself up with Misty Explosion in, but oh my gosh, it's such a cool idea.
I really like it.
And like this, yeah, this backline, I know I've been ragging on about the same fucking backline all day, but too bad. Intimidate Stoutland, Flame Body, Rocky Helmet, Scorch, Poison Point, Black Sludge, Dragalge. That is such a strong backline to just weaken anything around it. And then just keep Calyrex Ice alive until it can get kills. Because the funny part about Chillingnay, so struggle's a big mechanic. Pokemon struggle not uncommonly in this meta. You know what struggle is boosted by?
Was it
Attack stat raises. So yeah, if you have your Calyrex just get a couple kills, be it like 3 or 3.5 times attack, and then even if it starts struggling, it might kill.
yeah.
So
Whose
yeah,
Pokemon was
that's
really good at hitting with struggle? Do
which
you
one.
remember? I forget one of the teams, it would do, like, half the health when it would hit.
Well, I mean, Galaritan could do it, but Galaritan never got down to struggle. Garg was good at it. I remember Garg being that was one of the best parts about it was even when it did struggle, it was doing damage. I don't hate Garg here. You may remember on my generic team from earlier, I had Houndstone. Garg's effectively just a better version. Houndstone's good because it has Fluffy, so it just has high Fizz-D. But like, Garg can't be status and is already immune. Like, I don't know, it's just so good. I love it so much. But we made it like 10 points, so you really feel it if you're going to use Garg. Yeah, I think that's most of what I got from season 2. Effectively, the big takeaways are I don't think I'll be able to use a Sun team, even though they felt pretty good in testing, which means I have to choose now between Octillery, Magearna, and Calyrex Ice. Those are my big 3. So yeah, that's what we've got. I've built some other teams. Again, I said like I tried Hail. The Hail. To be fair, in the Hail team, I made Arctivish effectively unkillable, but it just wasn't doing anything as it was on the field. Um, yeah, in Rain, I know Blab had a really good Rain team, but I fear that you're just gonna get counterpicked way harder this season because people are running Sun for Proto, which is really bad for your dry skin. People are running um, other Rain teams. I expect we'll probably have 2 Rain teams now that we've seen the efficacy. But there's 2 good Rain setters that aren't Kyogre, so that's doable. Stuff like that. Anyway, I also think Symbiosis is just an unexplored ability that people need to stare at. So yeah, I think that's all I got. You got any more questions for me, PB? I'd be happy to talk more about this if you have anything.
Yeah, I got one big thing you didn't talk about.
Yeah?
Where are you picking in the draft?
All the Pokemon?
No, like,
Again, that's what I was saying.
your draft spot that just came out
Oh,
yesterday or a few days ago, and you didn't talk
yes.
about that at
I am
all.
fourth. I am fourth in the draft. That is insane because that means I can get maybe Magearna. But I don't know if Magearna feels good enough yet. That's the problem. I need to build Magearna teams that aren't hyper offense to see if it feels good, even if I can't draft a specific couple Pokemon. Because hyper offense didn't feel good into, for example, the generic team or the moody team. It actually loses really hard to the moody team because the Octillery stays alive so long if you do it right. I know it's hyper offense, but still, that Octillery is surprisingly hard to break through. I love that thing. I really want to run Octillery, dude, but it feels like such a waste to spend a fourth draft spot on Octillery, you know?
Yeah. And with this being a snake
Yeah.
draft,
Yeah, well, that's the other problem is if I have a two Pokemon core, it's really like if I take one at spot 4 and with 32 teams, that means I don't get the other till like the 60th pick.
we have
I think
30
a little
teams in
later.
this.
Oh, it's 30. Okay. So yeah, point is it'll be like 56th pick is my second Pokemon, which means I cannot take a two Pokemon core where both of them are equally important. That's the other problem with the Flamigo pick is that I love Flamigo, but I used him last season and people saw how good he was. So I fear that someone else is gonna try to find a way to take it. Especially even if we stick with the 35, you could run our Calyodon Flamigo, which is just a better version of my core from last season, and still have 5 points for your other four mons, which is bad. I would like to make that clear, but like someone might do it. I'm so scared of our Calyodon, dude. I don't know what to do about it if it shows up. I think Flame Body is the only good answer. Oh, we'll see. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. Um, the Calyrex teams, I have a lot of hope in. Again, I haven't had enough time for testing. The Magearna teams feel good, and both of those using a round 4 draft pick on Magearna or Calyrex, that feels fine. Um, and then I just whatever I need to throw in the back line, I'll have like the list of all the Flame Body mons, all the Intimidate mons, all the Poison points. Um, those are kind of the big three. I don't necessarily need Flame Body and Poison Point, but it's nice to have both. Um, I really want Poison Point. Black Sludge is so important, and Black Sludge Poison Point just means you sit on the field spreading poison for so long. So yeah, I think that's my plan for the draft. Anything else?
Okay, I'm going to end it with two simple questions.
Hit it.
Okay, who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise from the draft?
Which Pokemon or which person?
Which Pokemon from your research you've done?
Out of my draft, I don't think people are gonna see some of this coming. Very specifically, I think Centiskorch is gonna be one that people are gonna be like, Kim, what the hell are you talking about? But I am like Centiskorch's biggest supporter right now. If you look down this list, look how many teams I put Centiskorch on. It's so many of them. So yeah, babe, I think that's my biggest surprise. Other than that, I have no idea. Maybe Chris will take Porygon 1 again. Who knows? What's your second question?
Okay, who do you think's going to be the most overrated Pokemon in the draft?
Maybe Goldengo? I think that mon's really good, don't get me wrong. But like it's 20 points and its defenses are not that good. I guess it just becomes it has leftovers. No, that's not overrated. Ooh, I don't know then. If someone takes either Primal Groudon or Primal Kyogre, I think it's that. Primal Groudon felt bad. Where is the right tier list? It's fine. You guys didn't see any of that. Maybe you don't need to edit that out or anything. It's fine. I wanted to go to the high point mons just to look at it. I don't think. I mean, Arceus is really good, obviously. Yeah, I don't think Groudon or Kyogre are worth it. Koraidon felt fine. Landorus is not worth this price. Ooh, given that, I think it might end up being the Toxic Chain mons. They're good. Don't get me wrong. Being able to apply Toxic Poison is so nice. And they get Black Sludge, but I don't think that's worth 20 points. I don't think they have quite the stats to justify that. Yeah, so that's what I'm staring down. Um, ooh, damn, I forgot about Zygarde. I need to build a team around Zygarde. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna say probably the Primals. I think they're not worth 20. And someone's gonna take them. Someone's gonna want a Sun team and take Primal Groudon. I don't know who. I know Pink's been talking about Sun teams, but I
Somebody
don't think
will.
he's gonna take that. Well, I think he's gonna end up taking. We talked about using cheap setters. I talked with him about this, and I think cheap setters are the way to go. Normal Vulpix is 5, and that thing again. All you need from your setter is just switch it into the field, get it right back out. Put Heat Rock on it. It shouldn't be taking hits. So yeah, that's what we're sticking with.
All right, that's
Given that,
all.
thanks, BB. This has been a very fun interview. I know I said it'd be shorter. I lied. I really have been testing season 2,
Seems like
and I'm
it.
very excited to see. Yeah, well, that's my fear with those so many teams isn't even how long it's going to take. It's the fact that so many good mons are going to disappear. Like the backline is going to matter more in terms of you won't have all of your Pokemon ready for it because we're drafting, what is it, 30 times 8? That's like a quarter of all Pokemon. That means all the good ones are going to be gone in the first couple
We
rounds.
will.
Yeah, there's not going to be like last time where you're getting like round 8 good picks. I appreciate talking to you, PB. I look forward to the draft, and I will hopefully see a lot of y'all there. Or
Wish you the
if this
best.
releases after the draft, which it probably will, then I will see you in the matches.